Hey, welcome. So as most of you may already know, my wife recently immigrated to Canada, became a permanent resident under the spousal sponsorship program. And now she's slowly settling in, getting the basics done so she can start her regular life in Canada. And one of those basics is applying for a SIN number. And my wife just got her SIN number last week. It was a pretty easy process. We just walked into a Service Canada center with the documents and got the SIN right there and then. So in this video, I'll show you how you can apply for your SIN too, and the methods you can choose to apply, such as in person, online, or through mail, the documents required for each, and which method I would recommend the most. So let's begin. Alright, so all the instructions are in this page, the canada.ca page for social insurance number. You're going to click on apply, and then you're going to scroll down. You're going to click on you are applying for yourself. Then, depending on what you are, you can select those categories. My wife was a permanent resident, a new immigrant, and she needed to apply for her SIN. So I'm going to select you are a permanent resident. And first, I'll show you in person. All right. Then it gives you the list of documents required. So there's only 2 documents that you need to bring in with you at the Service Canada Center when you apply in person. First is the primary identity document, and this could be your permanent resident card. But I'm guessing most of you might not have received the PR card if you've just landed, if you're a new immigrant, just like my wife. In that case, you can use your confirmation of PR. All right. The second document you'll use is your passport. And that's all you need. And the third document is only required if the name on the application, meaning the name on which you want the SIN to be registered, is different from the name on your primary or secondary document. All right. For most of you, it's not going to be required. So only 2 documents are required, COPR and passport. All right. So now there is 2 ways to do this in person. You can either book an appointment at your nearest Service Canada Center, and then on the date of your appointment, you can just go there with these documents, and then you'll get your SIN right there and then. The other way is to just walk into your nearest Service Canada Center if it's convenient for you. Just stand in line and then you'll get your SIN right there and then, right? But I'm going to recommend that you book an appointment, because often there are large lines in these Service Canada centers, and depending on the time of day, there could be a lot of rush. I would recommend book an appointment, and then when you go to the Service Canada Center on the day of your appointment, you might escape large lines. All right. So in order to book the appointment, you're going to click on this service request form. Then you're going to fill this form out. So it's pretty easy to fill out. Just fill out the language of service, your first name, last name. So this is the applicant's first name and last name who's applying for SIN, country, province, and telephone number. What happens next is in 2 business days, somebody's going to give you a call on this number and confirm your appointment, and there you can decide the location. Now, depending on how crazy it is at the Service Canada Center, you might not even need to make this appointment. So I'm going to give you my example. I actually filled out this form to book an appointment. After 2 days, I got a call from one of the representatives at the Service Canada Center. And when I tried to book the appointment with them, they just told me, you don't need to book the appointment. You can just walk in. At this point, we're not making appointments. So it can also vary from one Service Canada center to the other, or where you are located in Canada. All right. I'm in Toronto, and like I said, I tried to make the appointment for my wife, but the representative told us that you can just walk in. So my wife and I just went to this center, Gerrard Square, on a Thursday afternoon. As you can see, the center was pretty empty. Just a few people outside the Service Canada spot. So we had to stand in line for about 20 minutes or so, and then my wife was called in. She was asked to present her COPR and passport, answer a few questions about her family, basically mother's name and father's name and her address in India, and then she got her SIN in 10 minutes and she was out. So we were lucky to have it done so quickly, but at some centers, depending upon the time, there may be large lines, and that's why always try to book the appointment first. And if the representative tells you that you can just walk in, then you know what to do. Just walk in. All right. So this method of in-person application would be my personal choice. Just walk into a Service Canada Center or make the appointment and get the SIN right there and then. So the next method is online. As you can see, the document requirements are pretty much the same with like a little bit of difference. So the primary document is the same thing, either the PR or the COPR document. Secondary document is your passport. And then they require a proof of address, because they will be mailing in your SIN to this address. So let's say you're a new immigrant and you are living with your spouse who sponsored you. That was the case for me. I sponsored my wife. She was a new immigrant. She needed a SIN, but she was living at my address. So she didn't really have a proof of address. So for proof of address, what they're looking for is a document which is under your name, meaning the applicant's name who's applying for SIN. So your lease or your utility bills or your bank statement which are under your name can work as proof of address. So uploading COPR as your proof of address when you don't really have an address under your name might not work. Alright, my wife tried it. She tried to apply online first as soon as she got here, but they sent the application back, the SIN application, saying that the proof of address is not acceptable. So I'm speaking from personal experience. Alright, at this point, that's the way it's working. So I would recommend, if you want to apply online, let's say you are not in a position to go to the nearest Service Canada center, then as soon as you land in Canada, get a checking account in a bank. It's pretty easy to open a checking account and it does not require a SIN. Once you have a checking account, you can actually print a bank statement from your bank, and that bank statement is going to have your name, the applicant's name, and the address under your name. So that is acceptable as proof of address if you want to apply online. So again, applying online, you'll need your COPR or your PR, your passport, and a proof of address under your name. Once you have those documents, then all you have to do is click on apply online, scroll down, agree to these terms, and then you'll have to fill out this digital form right here. Alright, so under application type, you are going to select first social insurance number, because I'm assuming this is the first time you're applying for a SIN. So this is where you'll fill out the details about the applicant. So I'm just going to fill out my wife's details. So first name, last name is the family name, and family name at birth. So since my wife did not really change her name, her last name remains the same. This is the date of birth, and then this is where you'll provide your parents' names at birth. Then pretty straightforward, provide a telephone number, language of correspondence English, gender, status in Canada is permanent resident, then some details about the applicant's birthplace. Did the applicant ever have a SIN number? So no, because this is the first time my wife is applying for a SIN number. And this is the most important part. So this is where you're going to provide the mailing address that is listed on the proof of address that you're going to upload. So let's say your proof of address is your bank statement. So that address should match the address that you list here. All right. So I'm just going to go with some hypothetical address real quick. And then you're just going to hit next. Are you applying for yourself? So just hit yes, print your name. So I'm just going to print my wife's name here. And then it gives you the list of documents that you have to provide. Then click on add files and start uploading your documents. And once you upload all your documents, just check these boxes, provide your email address right here and click on submit. And then once you're done with this form, they're going to give you a reference number. You can keep track of it. So what happens next is if all your documents are in order and acceptable, then they will mail your SIN to your address in about 10 to 15 days. So when you apply online, it takes about 2 weeks to process your application. Alright. So again, if you can manage to go to a Service Canada center, if it's convenient for you, it's a much better method as opposed to the online, which takes about 2 weeks. In person only takes 1 day. Alright. And by the way, there's no fee to apply. Finally, we have the by mail application method. This is the most tedious. It takes the longest time, and you have to mail in your original documents to the address mentioned here. So I'm not going to personally recommend this method because first of all, you have to mail in your original COPR and passport. So again, it creates a risk. But if you still want to choose to do this by mail, then the list of required documents is right here. So first is primary identity document. We've already seen this. There is a supporting document, and then there is a SIN application form. So if you open this, you're going to click on this GCNAS 2120, and it's going to download a form to your desktop or wherever you want to save this. Then you're simply going to click on open, and this is what the form is going to look like. And it also has a list of instructions for each application method. So just fill up this form and print this, sign this, and then send it along with the rest of your documents which are mentioned in the list of required documents. And then you should expect to receive your SIN, if all your documents are correct, in about 20 to 25 days. But again, I'm not really going to recommend this. Alright, so choose the in-person method, and if you can't, choose the online method. Alright, so if you're about to apply for spousal sponsorship, whether as a principal applicant or a sponsor, and you're struggling to understand supporting documents, forms, and signature requirements, then you should check this playlist out. I've basically shared my entire spousal sponsorship journey from filling forms to gathering supporting documents to applying online. It should help you get started with some general ideas about these forms and documents. This is Hit Submit in Canada. My name is Suyesh, and I'll catch you in the next one. Good night.